Story we have been following throughout the past 2 days surrounds the superstar herself, Caitlin Clark, the WNBA star, the Indiana Fever star, Caitlin Clark. She's going to miss all the action on the court.
Caitlin Clark gets hurt, and guess what? Your demand vanishes because people ain't going to pay up to see these athletes that are ungrateful that their sport's growing. People aren't paying up for that. And we are here, right here. The tickets for this game, for this All-Star game, they've dropped by 50%.
Was meant to be Caitlin Clark's coronation week in Indianapolis. Quickly unraveled into a public relations disaster for the WNBA, the city rolled out a massive 34-story banner of Clark on the JW Marriott, bracing for record-breaking crowds and major revenue, but instead faced empty seats and furious fans boycotting the All-Star game. So how did the league manage to fumble their biggest star's hometown showcase? What did WNBA Commissioner Cathy Engelbert finally say about the growing officiating controversy during All-Star Weekend? Her response says it all and exposes the deeper issue of how the league continues to mishandle the very players responsible for its rising popularity. Let us know in the comments, do you think the WNBA will ever get it right? Let's get into it.
Look, this is what everybody's been talking about. This right here, Caitlin Clark, the banner right there on the JW Marriott. It is 34 stories banner, unbelievable. It's the largest banner ever on the JW Marriott. You may think about the bracket. Remember back in the NCAA tournament back in 2021? Yeah, it's bigger than that as well. 113,000 square feet. It is unbelievable. And you see what it says, from downtown in my town. No doubt, this is something that is grabbing everyone's attention. And who else better to be on that than the star herself, Caitlin Clark?
Indianapolis spent months preparing for what was expected to be the biggest WNBA weekend in history, installing a replica All-Star court at the airport. Local businesses ramped up inventory and staffing. In anticipation of massive crowds, Gainbridge Fieldhouse sold out within hours of tickets going on sale. With the get-in price hitting $121 and average resale prices soaring to $262, premium seats were going for thousands, making it the most expensive WNBA All-Star Game ever, according to TickPick.
Unfortunate that Caitlin Clark missed it. The crowd would have been exploding. The crowd would have been exploding. The arena would have been exploding. Oh man, a big miss as far as the WNBA is concerned.
Then came July 17th, and everything unraveled. The moment Caitlin Clark's groin injury announcement hit social media, the entire ticket market imploded in real time. Average resale prices plummeted from $262 to just $64 within hours, a staggering 75% drop, while the get-in price sank from $121 to around $65. Sellers, and many of whom had treated their tickets as investments, went into panic mode, scrambling to offload them at steep losses. But even at those discounted rates, buyers weren't biting. This wasn't a slow decline, it was a live, public financial meltdown playing out minute by minute online.
All the way down to just $64 after news broke that Caitlin Clark won't be playing. These are people saying, I'm done. I don't want to watch. Caitlin Clark's not. I bought tickets solely to watch Caitlin Clark in the All-Star game. I made accommodations solely to get to Indiana to watch Caitlin Clark in the All-Star game. She is injured. I have no interest in that anymore. People are selling their tickets so much so they just want off of them. 121, okay. You want it for 100? Oh no, okay. I guess I gotta lower it to 80. Oh, you don't want to buy it for 80? Okay, I guess I'll lower it to 70. You don't want to buy it to 70? I guess I'll lower it to $64. The WNBA is paying attention to these trends, and they're seeing firsthand what Caitlin Clark is worth to the.
What makes this even more brutal is that the warning signs were already there. This same pattern had played out before, just never at this scale. Back in May, when Caitlin Clark missed regular season games due to a quad strain, ticket prices for road games took major hits, dropping 47% for the Washington matchup and a staggering 71% for the highly anticipated Chicago game. But those were just regular season events. This was the All-Star game in her hometown. And the collapse that followed her injury news was unlike anything the league had ever seen.
The ticket prices. the demand fell off a cliff. And it's not just the on-court product that suffers without number 22, Caitlin Clark. The entire weekend's economic opportunities have felt the fallout.
Gainbridge Fieldhouse was suddenly facing its first non-sellout in nearly 2 years, a stunning shift for a venue that had been packed for every Fever game. Now bracing for empty seats during the biggest basketball weekend Indianapolis had seen since the NBA All-Star Game. The fallout was immediate and brutal. Vendors who had poured thousands into All-Star merchandise were staring down major losses, while restaurants and hotels anticipating record-breaking crowds were hit with cancellations. The economic ripple effects spread fast through downtown Indianapolis as the harsh reality sank in.
But when it comes to the vendors in the arena, the shops in the arena, they're not going to have the same amount of people patronize their business as they would if Caitlin Clark was there. The surrounding restaurants, the surrounding areas, the surrounding attractions, they're not going to have the same number of people patronize their business as they would if Caitlin Clark was healthy.
This wasn't just about one player missing one game. It was a loud, it's an undeniable message from fans about who truly drives interest. In the WNBA, when other star players sit out, the ticket market doesn't collapse like this. But with Clark sidelined, demand vanished, and the message was clear. Without her, the All-Star Game wasn't worth attending. The crash exposed a hard truth the league had tried to avoid this record-breaking season was built almost entirely around one player. Without her, those attendance numbers and revenue milestones suddenly felt a lot less historic.
This year, for the second time ever, the WNBA All-Star Game was supposed to feature an actual star. Normally, this celebration of pretend basketball features players that no one's ever heard.
Clark's groin injury didn't come out of nowhere. It was the predictable outcome of months of increasingly physical play that referees repeatedly failed to control. Opposing players realized they could grab, shove, and hack her with little to no consequence, and the officials simply let it slide, game after game, allowing the contact to escalate unchecked.
We get to an All-Star Game in Indiana where Caitlin Clark is not healthy enough to play. Well, it all started last year in her rookie season, where she received 20% of all the flagrant fouls in the league, and most of them came from Angel Reese in the Chicago Sky. And these weren't basketball plays. They were not only fouling her, but they were getting up, laughing about it, laughing about Caitlin Clark getting assaulted. Any other work environment, people go to jail for what?
Stephanie White saw this coming a mile away. The Fever head coach had been calling out the officiating double standard all season, pointing out that opponents were allowed to play with a level of physicality against Clark that no other player had to endure. This wasn't exaggeration. White was watching her star get roughed up night after night, while the referees consistently turned a blind eye.
I mean, there's a level of physicality that they're able to play with against her. You know, I knew it as an opponent, and I see it as her coach. And you know, I'm not exactly sure why, but it just is what it is. And we've got to help her learn to adjust and use it against them in certain ways. You know, we've got to find some ways to make it a little bit easier for her. But the level of physicality overall in our league has been at a different level than it's been for a long time.
Let's be real about what was happening on the court. The Washington Post didn't hold back, calling out the WNBA's consistently subpar officiating that had turned games into bruising, chaotic brawls. They even joked the league should change its logo to a bruise and its motto to no call, and honestly, it didn't feel like a joke to fans watching night after night. The evidence was everywhere. Defenders hooking Clark's arms, shoving her off screens, fouling her on drives, and getting away with it. Video after video confirmed it, and the refs just stood by. This neglect created a dangerous culture where targeting Clark wasn't just tolerated, it became the norm.
And last year, I noticed how much it was just Caitlin Clark. Caitlin Clark was taking all the hits. Caitlin Clark was taking all the abuse. But this year they've added Sophie Cunningham, she gets more flagrant fouls on her than anybody in the league besides Caitlin Clark. And Aaliyah Boston, she's been taking hits as well. But the worst thing is the consistency. So they don't call flagrant fouls, or most of the time, Caitlin Clark could be held for an entire game at a time. They don't call fouls. They don't call common fouls. But then when it's the Indiana Fever, guess what? Touch foul here, touch foul here. They call absolutely nothing.
Here's what makes it even worse throughout sports history. The biggest stars usually get some level of protection from officials, but Caitlin Clark was getting battered like a practice dummy while referees acted like enforcing the rules wasn't their job. The data backs it up. Over the past 2.5 seasons, there have been 57 head and neck injuries in the WNBA, with guards and small forwards taking the brunt, according to the Washington Post. This isn't normal wear and tear. It's a pattern of dangerous play that the league continues to allow. WNBA legend Lisa Leslie, who suffered her own groin injury in 2006, warned these injuries can linger for months or even years, and that's now the reality Clark faces. This wasn't bad luck. It was the inevitable result of a league that refuses to protect its most valuable asset. Every uncalled grab, every ignored shove, every missed foul led to this moment. Now, the WNBA is facing the consequences: millions lost in revenue, a damaged product, and fans walking away. All because they failed to do the one thing that should have been non-negotiable: protect their star.
Injury 2006, and listen, I was heavily taped around my thigh, around my glute, just trying to make sure there was enough pressure to hold that groin. And the hard part is that the groin is sort of an area that you can't just touch and go, it hurts right here. You feel it deep. You have to get a lot of deep treatment, whether it's ice and heat and rest. Well, Caitlin Clark, she can't find a lot of rest right now because she's mid-season. But I think that injury is really tough because it lingers. No matter how much medicine you take, you can feel fine. You get back out there, one move, one change of direction, and boom, you're right back feeling that same type of pain. So it's going to be a tough injury that she's going to have to manage.
How long did it take you to recover from?
To be honest, Tracy, I play tennis and I can still feel that injury linger because I don't know that it ever really goes away. You just learn to manage.
As fans organized, boycotts and ticket sales collapsed in real time. All eyes turned to Kathy Engelbert to see how she'd respond to the biggest crisis of her tenure as WNBA commissioner. This was her chance to show real leadership, confront the officiating issues head-on, and acknowledge the role they played in Clark's injury. Instead, she delivered a polished corporate known answer, exactly the kind of sanitized response that only fueled fan frustration and made the league's inaction even harder to ignore.
Players and coaches over the last few days have complained without being fine-worthy about officiating. I just want to see about your thoughts on if officiating is an issue and how it can be improved. Clearly, there seems to be problems or disconnect between what players and coaches feel and what officials are actually.
When pressed about the refereeing issues during All-Star Weekend, Kathy Engelbert gave the classic executive non-answer, calling a meeting with over 40 players in league, stakeholders productive and constructive, and emphasizing shared goals while completely avoiding the actual issue. Fans weren't looking for boardroom buzzwords or vague optimism. They wanted real accountability for the officials who had allowed Clark to be physically targeted all season without consequence.
As a fan of sports for 60 years now, I know that, no one's ever happy with officiating. All sports deal with it, but we're working hard to make sure we're putting the best product out on the court and our officiating then can follow.
Her response completely ignored the financial wreckage unfolding across Indianapolis. While ticket prices collapsed and local businesses braced for massive losses, Kathy Engelbert was busy talking about team profitability and constructive dialogue, as if everything were business as usual. The disconnect was staggering. Fans were voting with their wallets, and she acted like nothing was wrong. What fans actually wanted was simple: a direct admission that the officiating had been awful, a commitment to protect players like Clark, and a recognition that allowing teams to target your biggest star is a disaster for business. Instead, they got bland corporate jargon about shared goals and productive meetings. Engelbert's tone-deaf response only reinforced what many already feared: that league leadership is completely out of touch with both its fan base and its players. As Indianapolis businesses counted their losses and fan-led boycotts intensified, Engelbert's refusal to confront the real issue made everything worse.
Play against Breanna Stewart, she goes to the line 14 times. Asia Wilson goes to the line 13 times. And Aaliyah Boston can't play 20 minutes in a game without being on the bench in foul trouble. That's another problem that we're dealing with. But like I said, this year, it's not just Caitlin Clark. If you wear that Indiana Fever jersey, consider it done. The refs are not going to be fair, and they are going to cheat and do whatever it takes to do what the higher-ups say.
The commissioner's weak leadership during this crisis has left fans seriously questioning whether the WNBA is even capable of real change. When your top revenue driver gets injured because officials won't protect her, and all you offer in response is hollow corporate language about productive dialogue, it's clear you've completely lost the plot. Fans saw right through the empty PR spinand. They responded by walking away. Ticket sales dried up, and what was supposed to be a celebration turned into a disaster. The All-Star Game, once hyped as a historic moment, was slammed by fans as an embarrassment to the sport. Without Caitlin Clark, the league was left trying to sell a product no one wanted, and the result was hard to watch. Gainbridge Fieldhouse, usually electric, was filled with empty seats. The energy was non-existent, the basketball was flat, and the entire event felt less like a showcase and more like a half-hearted scrimmage nobody cared about.
You're going to mess around, and a large, massive group of fans are going to be like, enough is enough. We've never had to see anything like it in sports, but you don't see these other leagues going around talking crazy about their fan bases all the time, like this league does. It's continuous. They're running their mouth about the people that are paying money to see them. You don't have other jobs where people walk up. You're in a public job that's in front of the wall.
Four-point shot gimmick only made things worse. What was supposed to be an elite basketball showcase quickly devolved into what one source called a glorified layup line, with players launching shots from deep and playing zero. Defense? It was embarrassing to watch. No one was trying. No one was competing. And the entire event turned into an unwatchable mess that pushed away fans who actually care about the game. In fact, you know what got more attention than the All-Star Game itself? The New York Liberty sending their mascot to recruit Caitlin Clark? Let that sink in, a team mascot generating more buzz than the game. But the Liberty's aggressive pursuit of Clark wasn't just for show, it proved they understood what the league clearly didn't: how to treat a generational talent. Their actions off the court completely overshadowed everything happening on it.
Is going through Caitlin shit. Yeah. Just going through, I'm going to tell you, Leah Boston, let's break down her face right now. I am not happy with the Liberty mascot invading our home turf right here. I mean, that mascot's cute. That mascot's cute. It is. She's having fun, but, you know, it's the Liberty mascot. So, of course, that is what everybody notices, right? After the meeting, the WWE style meeting in the back of the arena, right? As the heels are all meeting together, Breanna Stewart, and Sabrina, and Sandy Barndello, basically the Liberty, and of course the recruiting into the Four Horsemen. They're recruiting Caitlin Clark.
The WNBA just faced its first true test without Caitlin Clark, and the results were a disaster. Compared to the energy and excitement she brings to regular season games, the All-Star weekend fell completely flat, laying bare just how much the league relies on a single player to drive fan interest. But this goes far beyond one athlete missing a game. The Clark effect isn't just about points or ticket sales, it's about the very future of women's basketball and whether the league can sustain the momentum she helped create. This all-star collapse made it clear they can't. Fans sent a powerful message by abandoning ticket sales, leaving seats empty, and flooding the event with negative reviews. It wasn't just about Clark's absence, it was about a league failing to deliver what fans actually care about. For months, the WNBA bragged about record ratings and explosive growth. But one weekend without Clark exposed a hard truth. Take away her star power, and the product struggles to hold anyone's attention. This disaster proved that unless the WNBA addresses the very issues that led to Caitlin Clark's injury, it risks alienating the exact audience that fueled its recent surge. The league was handed everything on a silver platter: generational talent who delivered record viewership, unprecedented fan engagement, and millions in new revenue, and somehow turned it into a cautionary tale. Instead of protecting its most valuable asset, the league allowed poor officiating, tone-deaf leadership, and a complete disconnect from fans to steer things off course. This all-star debacle isn't the end of Caitlin Clark's story-eyed fans demanding better from a league that needs to evolve or risk collapse. The real question now, will the WNBA finally learn from this costly failure, or keep making the same mistakes until there's nothing left to save? Let us know in the comments if you think the league will ever wake up. Like, subscribe, and turn on all notifications so you never miss a video. And click the one on your screen to keep watching.